We are the Cougars!
We'd like to thank Silcott for sponsoring the Challenge Cup again, and I do believe this is our last year of sponsorship, so thank you to Silcott. You've been sponsoring us for so many years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the team.
Good afternoon, welcome to Cougar Park for this fourth round Silcott Challenge Cup game against the Hull Sharks. Teams lining up as follows: for Hull, number 1, Steve Prescott; 2, Chris Smith; 3, Richard Horn; 4, Dion Bird; 5, Matt Crowther; 6, Stanley Jean; 7, Tony Smith; 8, Paul Broadbent; 9, Lee Jackson; 10, Luke Falsh; 11, Adam Mayer; 12, Damon Maiden; 13, Jason Smith; 14, Logan Campbell; 15, Paul King; 16, Paul Cook; and 17, Craig Boucher. We're just waiting now for the arrival of the Keighley Cougars. It's a wet and cold Sunday afternoon. Pete Fell, the Cougar from Hell, announcing the arrival of the Cougars, just waiting for them to burst through the banner down there at the tunnel. Great anticipation down here at Cougar Park this afternoon. Full house, and here come the Keighley Cougars, led by their mascot Connor the Cougar at number 1, James Rushforth; 2, Craig Horn; 3, Dale Powell; 4, Graham Hallis; 5, Jason Lee; 6, Martin Woods; 7, Nathan Antonick; 8, Michael Slicker; 9, Steve Pickles; 10, Alan Boothroyd; 11, Paul Harrison; 12, Ian Hughes; 13, Danny Seal; 14, Matt Walker; 15, Jim Leatham; 16, Phil Stevenson; and 17, Darren Carter. The referee for this afternoon is Mr. Robert Connolly from Wigan, and he's assisted by Keith Leland and Steve Ellaby, also from Wigan. And the fourth official this afternoon is Mr. Grant Maxwell, living in Wigan but from Brisbane in Australia.
Ladies and gentlemen, we start today's match with a minute's silence. If the Hull fans would be so good as to give a minute's silence. We at Keighley Cougars tonight would be proud to remember John Lewis. John distinguished himself as a goal-kicking fullback for the club in the early 50s, but illness forced him to retire early from the game. He was one of the many great Welshmen to have played for the club, and he will be sadly missed. Ladies and gentlemen, a minute's silence for John Lewis.
Impeccably observed minute silence by both sets of supporters. So it's a big game, big crowd and big atmosphere down at Cougar Park. Hull playing up the slope in the first half. Extremely muddy down the centre of the field here at Cougar Park. Steve Prescott getting things underway for the Cougars. Nathan Antonick, Mickey Slicker, he's tackled down on that 10-metre line. It's Antonick, Boothroyd. It's Martin Wood. It's Graham Hallis out on that far side. Good run by Graham Hallis, taking Keighley down towards that halfway line. Martin Wood, Stevie Pickles, Mickey Slicker once again. Keighley still a good 10 metres short of the halfway line. Martin Wood puts a little kick over the top, and that's a chase for Jason Lee. Jason Lee looking to pick up that kick through. Good kick from Martin Wood, but Jason Lee just failing to hold on to that ball in the wet conditions. So first scrum down of the afternoon. Once again up in the gantry this afternoon, we're up against the elements. Arthur once again into driving rain, so if we've got a bit of interference on the screen, unfortunately there's not a lot we can do about it. Stanley Jean taking the first run for the Hull FC. He's tackled just 12 metres out from his own line. It's Lee Jackson in acting half-back. Hull without Tony Grimaldi this afternoon. He's got water on the knee, so he's unavailable. It's Richard Horn. It's Lee Jackson. Hull almost down on the Keighley halfway line. It's the last tackle. That ball back to Tony Smith. Craig Horn tracks back, just picks up that ball and sets off downfield. That's it. It's a good run, and then it finally ends up with a high tackle. And Mr. Connolly's going for the back pocket very, very early on. And he's sent him off. Tony Smith being sent off very, very early on in this game. Craig Horn set off on a run downfield, and Tony Smith, that's the best player for Hull off the park. Hull will have to play the rest of this game with 12 men. Mr. Connolly, no hesitation, that tackle was high, it was reckless, and Tony Smith back in the dressing room. So Boothroyd, Stevie Pickles, Mickey Slicker. So Keighley on the charge. Tackle just 12 metres out from that Hull line. Antonick going in at acting half-back. It's Danny Seal. Danny Seal trying to duck his way under the Hull FC defenders. Keighley goes 4 or 5 metres out now. It's Alan Boothroyd. Alan Boothroyd. See, last tackle. Steve Pickles going in acting half-back. It's Martin Wood. Martin Wood, the little chip over the top. Hull going to have to get rid of that ball, but they're tackled inside their own in goal, so it'll be a drop out under the post. So Nathan Antonick will pick up this ball from the drop out under the post onto Alan Boothroyd. He's tackled some 30 metres out from the try line. It's Antonick, Paul Harrison coming down this left centre position. Dio Powell. So Antonick, Stevie Pickles, Danny Seal. Hull defends, holding tight at the moment. Pickles swings his ball out left. It's Martin Wood. And it's Ian Hughes. Cougars just 10 metres out from the Hull try line. Martin Wood once again puts that kick through. And Paul Harrison going on to that kick from Martin Wood to score the first try of the afternoon for the Cougars. So the first try of the afternoon, Paul Harrison. So the score down at Cougar Park, Keighley Cougars 4, Hull FC 0. So Martin Wood, just to the right hand side of the post. So an enthralling start to this game. Inside the first 5 minutes, we've seen the Hull linchpin and scrum half Tony Smith dispatched to the dressing room, and Mr. Connolly. Mr. Connolly laying down the rules very, very early on here. First high tackle, and Mr. Connolly, no hesitation, sent him back to the dressing room. Unlike Mr. Cummins yesterday afternoon, who let rather a lot of high tackles go, Mr. Connolly having none of it. So Hull FC go really up against it now, going to go hopefully 6 points behind with this conversion from Martin Wood, and going to have to play, as I said before, the rest of this game with 12 men. Martin plants that ball firmly between the uprights. Score down at Cougar Park at the moment. Keighley Cougars 6, Hull FC 0. So Steve Prescott going to restart play for Hull. Puts a high ball up. That's one for Nathan Antonick. Safely under it, Nathan, and decides to keep hold of that ball. He's tackled some 12 metres out from the try line, Mickey Slicker. He's met by a posse of Hull defenders. Steve Pickles in at acting half-back. Martin Wood. Martin going on his own. He evades the first line of Hull defenders and takes Keighley down within 10 metres of that halfway line. Mr. Connolly saying Martin Wood diving. Ian Hughes. And Keith Leyland, the touch judge on that far side on the pitch. Arthur, my cameraman, saying it's a punch thrown. He's got a better view, of course. He's looking through the lens of his camera. My eyesight's not very good over 100 metres. Feet, sorry, Arthur. So Keighley being awarded another penalty, and down once again in sight of that Hull try line. It's Steve Pickles, it's Mickey Slicker. Mr. Connolly picking out a forward pass, it's come down, Hull head and ball. So Keighley guilty of rather bad indiscretion there on the first tackle. However, it's Hull FC head and ball. Stanley Jean, former Hull Kingston Rovers player. It's Lee Jackson. It's Smith. It's Lee Jackson once again. It's Luke Falsh. Just taking the ball down into the Keighley half. Jackson once again. And this time, that ball thrown into touch by Hull, so it was scummed down 10 metres short of the halfway line. Keighley Cougar head and ball. So Nathan Antonick with the feed. Graham Alice going in at first receiver. Of course, Graham up against his former teammates at Hull. Martin Wood. Once again, Cougars going down that left-hand side. It's Antonick. It's Martin Woods. Graham Hallis. He's tackled away on that far side, just a couple of metres in from the touchline side. Keighley coming back centre field. It's Martin Wood. It's Pickles. Not the best of passes in. And Matt Crowther's away and he's going to score a try for Hull Sharks. A loose pass from the Cougars and Matt Crowther taking advantage for the Hull Sharks. Lovely run, 50 metres out and going in at the side of the post, make the score. Keighley Cougars 6, Hull 4.
News from another weighted score in the fourth round of the Silk Cup Challenge Cup. It's Lee 14, Salford 12.
So Steve Prescott with his conversion to make things all square down at Cougar Park, which he does. So we're back to status quo. It's Keighley Cougars 6, Hull 6. Excellent contingent of Hull supporters here this afternoon, taking over the Turner stand at the bottom end. Martin Wood gets play underway once again for the Cougars. That's Stanley Jean playing football with it and sets off. But Graham Allison, Jason Lee. So Hull once again on the charge up the hill here at Cougar Park. Lee Jackson going in at acting half-back. Hull down on the halfway line, good yards from Hull. It's Crowther. Crowther this time held by Dio Powell. Mr. Connolly with his arm raised in the air. That's the last tackle. That's a high ball. Jason Rushforth under that ball, but dropped it, and Hull going in for their second try of the afternoon. So that's making the score now Keighley 6, Hull 10. So conditions down there at Cougar Park dictating play. James Rushforth usually absolutely rock solid under a high ball, but must be like catching a bar of soap. And the ball spilled, and papers will tell you tomorrow that Hull have got in for their second try. So Steve Prescott puts it between the posts, so it's Keighley 6, Hull 12.
Conversion there for Hull. Number 1, Steve Prescott.
So Martin Wood once again restarting play, looking to drill that ball into touch, but only succeeds in giving Hull a penalty right on the halfway line, putting that ball straight into touch. So Hull will come on the charge once again. It's Lee Jackson. It's Broadbent. Luke Falsh. It's Jackson. So Mr. Connolly eventually getting into the right defensive line. Once again, a bad ball thrown out by the Cougars, and ball going to ground again. Lee Jackson. And it's on. Mr. Connolly indicating that tackle round the shoulder, Stanley Jean. So Hull piling on the pressure. Keighley need to get the line sorted out, which... And it's a forward pass. Kind of said forward pass, it would have been slagging him off. Kind of said forward pass, it would have been slagging him off. So Keighley really need to keep tight hold of this ball. Can't afford to give Hull possession in their own 20. It's Rushforth. It's Antonick, Martin Wood. And once again, a long ball, and Graham Alice not picking up that ball, so it'll be scrum down. Mr. Leyland on the park. Not quite sure why Keith's on the park, but he's just having a quick word with Robert. It's Mickey Slicker he's having a word with. So it's come down. Hull Edham feed 20 metres out from the Cougar try line. Stanley Jean. And it's Horn. Stanley Jean. So he's tackled just a couple of metres out from that try line. And it's Jason Smith. Hull once again putting pressure on the Keighley line just a couple of metres out. And it's Bird. It's Lee Jackson. Felsh. So that's the last tackle. Horn this time in action half-back for the Hull Sharks. So there's two knock-ons. No great problem with that. Good call from Mr. Connolly. And Boothroyd. Smicker Slicker. So Keighley still 20 metres out from their own try line. Steve Pickles, Martin Wood, it's Danny Seal. Danny Steele still going. As usual, ducking and diving effort gains him 10 metres. It's Martin Wood. This time puts the boot to ball. That's for Jason Lee, and Graham Alice to chase. Good cover from the Cougars, but taken well by Hull. So Hull back down on their own 10-metre line. Mr. Connolly pulling Keith up for offside. Crowther. And Stanley Jean dropping that ball, so it'll be scrum down. Cougar heading ball just inside the Hull Sharks half of the field. It's Antonick. Keighley just settling things down once again inside the whole half of the field to make it slicker. Boothroyd. Good one from Alan Boothroyd onto Steve Pickles, Martin Wood. There's a bit of battling going on over on the far side of the field. Once again, Mr. Leyland having to come on. It's Hallis. Keighley within sight of the whole line once again. That's a lovely ball put up. Mr. Connolly pulling Keighley up for offside and then back chat.
With 3 minutes to go, it's Leeds 16, Salford 12, and the score at Swinton is Swinton 6, Leeds 6.
That ball coming up towards our gantry. Lee Jackson. That's Paul Broadbent. Luke Felsh. Jackson in at acting half-back. Once again, Hull looking to come away down that far side, but good tackling by the Cougars, Martin Wood and Hallis. Stanley Jean. So Hull still 20 metres out from the Cougar try line. And Richard Horn losing that ball, so Keighley back in possession, but with all the work to do to get out of their own 20-metre area. Danny Seal doing well to get Keighley a few metres further downfield. This time Mr. Connolly indicating that Hull FC were all offside, so Keighley need to put this ball into touch. Which they do successfully. So Antonic, Steve Pickles, Boothroyd, Martin Wood. Once again, Keighley knocking on. Mr. Leyland coming on the park once again to have a word with Mr. Connolly. And I think Graham Hallis and Chris Smith there probably just having a bit of a contretemps. So Hull once again. It's Jackson. It's Smith, good offload. And Steve Prescott. And Mr. Ellaby. So Hull FC going in for a further try. Prescott just diving before and getting that ball down before knocking the corner flag in.
It's Leeds 16, Salford 12.
That's making the score now. Keighley Cougars 6, Hull 16. So Matt Crowther taking the kick this time for Hull. Ball just fading to the left-hand side of the post, so score remains Keighley 6, Hull 16. Matt Walker and Phil Stevenson on the park.
Number 14 Matt Walker and number 16 Phil Stevenson replace number 8 Mick Slicker and number 10 Alan Woodrow. Well played, lads.
So Martin Wood drills that ball down onto the Hull 10. So coming up to around about 30 minutes played here at Cougar Park.
And the substitution for Hull FC, number 14 Logan Campbell wearing 23, and number 1 Steve Prescott. So
Dio Powell picking up the loose ball for the Cougars. It's Matt Walker. It's Anthony Phil Stevenson. It's Martin Wood this time going in acting half back. It's Matt Walker. It's Anthony. Danny Seal. Steve Pickles, Martin Wood, on to Rushforth. Good play by the Cougars, but that's the last tackle, and we're still some 12 metres out from that whole line. Martin Wood. And once again, that ball going to ground, so it'll be a handover. Hull. So Hull once again, it's Logan Campbell. So Hull FC once again, just over into the Keighley half of the field once again. Little kick downfield. Craig Horn gets away from that first line, but eventually tackled. It's Rushforth. It's Anthony. It's Paul Harrison. Good run from Paul Harrison. Offloads to Danny Seal. Phil Stevenson. It's Anthony. It's Pickles rather. It's Matt Walker. Once again it's the last tackle, so it'll be time for a kick. Anthony puts a little grubber kick in. It's a good kick from Anthony, taking Hull right back to their own try line. And Danny Seal making that tackle. So Hull right down on their own 20. Lee Jackson going in at acting half-back. That's Luke Falsh. That's the last tackle. Hull still a few metres out from the halfway line. So that'll be scrum down Keighley head and ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's an announcement. For safety reasons, the bar at half-time will remain closed. And substitution for Hull, number 8, Paul Broadhurst. Paul Broadbeck is replaced by number 17, Paul King.
So it's Hallis. And Dio Powell. It's Hallis. Craig Horn. It's Wood. A long ball once again. Keighley's not afraid to spread this ball out in the conditions. It's a knock on. Keighley going to have to come back for the scrum down, just 10 metres inside the all half of the field.
In the fourth round, Dewsbury 4, Castleford 6, and Bradford 28, Widless out.
Stanley Jean. It's King. And Hull once again. And Hull once again within sight of the Keighley Cougar try line, just about 11 metres out. Stanley Jean and Jason Lee playing football with it and does marvellously well to pick up the ball, and Hull all offside. Mr. Connolly allowing play on. Dio Powell losing that ball and picked up by Maiden. It's Lee Jackson. It's Luke Felsh. It's Paul King. Good strong run from the Hull substitute. Mr. Connolly saying that ball's gone back, so it's play on. It's King. And eventually Keighley picking up that ball. It's Matt Walker. Good run from Steve Pickles. And Danny Seal getting a good belt. Martin Wood. Good run from Martin Wood. Cougars back down in that 20-metre area. It's Antonic. Paul Harrison, little chip by Paul Harrison. Well picked up once again by Hull. And Hull having to come away from their own 10-metre area. Set off once again. And it's Chris Smith. Stanley Jean. It's the last tackle, Hull right on the halfway line. But I think Mr. Connell will come back for the knock-on. But not really quite in agreement with that. Didn't get any real advantage. I think Mr. Connolly's pointing out that they made a few metres, but tough call, but it's gone the way of Hull FC. Coming up to half-time here at Cougar Park, still 16-6 in favour of Hull. It's Stanley Jean. And knock on. So, scrum down. Cougar head and ball. Antonic with the feed. It's Martin Wood. It's Rushforth. And it's Hughes driving the ball down to the halfway line for the Cougars. And Matt Walker. And Hull rather slow getting off at the play of the ball, but Mr. Connolly not penalising a lot of offences around the play of the ball at the moment, trying to keep the game going in these wet conditions. It's Martin Woods, it's Hallis. Hallis broken through, he's got Jason Lee with him, and Jason Lee going in for a try just before half-time for the Cougars. Cougars really just striking at the right time. This makes the score Keighley Cougars 8, Hull 16. Thank you, Arthur. Keighley 10, Hull 16. Just really scoring at the right time. We've got a game on our hands now as the half-time hooter should be sounding any time. Myself and Arthur absolutely drenched. Can't say that, Arthur, it's a family video. So Arthur's PWT, aren't you, Arthur? And so am I.
Give it up, please, for number 5, Jason Lee.
So Jason Lee continuing his scoring sequence. So Martin Wood, I'd love to see this one go between the uprights. Between the uprights, good, excellent kick from Martin Wood. It's Keighley Cougars 12, Hull 16. So Lee Jackson going to restart play.
12, Hull 16.
So Hull kicking off. Antonic safely onto that ball. Just a matter of possession as these seconds tick away towards the half-time hooter. And there goes the half-time hooter. Excellent first half down at Cougar Park. Cougars taking an early lead by 6 points to nil. Hull then scoring 3 tries to go 16-6 in front. And Cougars just striking at the right time, just before the half-time hooter. So half-time score down at Cougar Park. Keighley Cougars 12, Hull 16.
Welcome all the new members to join us. In
Welcome back to the second half of this 4th round Silk Cup Challenge Cup game against the Hull FC. Keighley still within striking distance. Half-time score, Keighley 12, Hull 16. Keighley having to come up the slope in the second half. Hull, of course, down to 12 men. Tony Smith being dismissed in the 3rd minute. Mr. Connolly with clean shirts on.
This is only the beginning. 5.
So, Mr. Connolly.
2, 1.
Both teams in clean tops. It's Prescott. It's King. That's Chris Smith. Stanley Jean. Purple Shark still short of the halfway line. It's Luke Falsh. And Jason Smith puts the high ball up this time. Rushforth collecting that ball. It's Craig Horn. An elusive runner, Craig Horn, going one way and then the other. Steve Pickles in acting half-back. It's Phil Stevenson. It's Martin Wood. It's Ian Hughes. To Matt Walker. He takes Keighley into the whole half of the field for the first time in this second half. Martin Wood puts a little kick downfield. Luke Falsh. Oh, that's King. He's just tackled inside the Keighley half of the field. Stanley Jean. Once again, Mr. Connolly, arm raised in there. That's the last tackle. Jason Smith once again hoisting that high ball. And Rushforth once again collecting that high ball under immense pressure from the Hull attacking line. Craig Horn. Steve Pickles, Phil Stevenson. He's driven back by 3 Hull players. Martin Wood, Matt Walker. It's Antonic, it's Harrison, it's Dio Powell. Once again, the last tackle, Keighley still inside their own half of the field. This time Matt Walker puts that ball up. Picked up by Chris Smith. Martin Wood and Ian Hughes just halting his progress just outside his own 20. So Chris Smith. Logan Campbell taking Hull down into the Keighley half of the field. Good ball from Hull onto Luke Fowles, that's the last tackle. And Craig Horn making that ball dead, so it'll be drop out under the post. So the whole crowd down in that Turner stand were getting right behind their team. Graham Alice just taking his time, getting politely booed by his old fans. So Hull once again coming away. It's a good ball. That's Jason Smith. It's Horn looking for a way through. That ball being dropped, and Mr. Connolly saying the greater advantage had come out for the 10-metre scrum. Good call from Mr. Connolly. Rushforth. Antonic. It's Paul Harrison. So Keighley on that far side, just inside the touchline side. Danny Seal. It's Phil Stevenson. See, last tackle, Keighley still in their own half. Martin Woods. It's a good kick down field by Martin Wood. Stops in the mud in the Hull 20. Chris Smith. Good tackling from the Cougars and Graham Hallis.
Substitution for Hull. Number 10, Luke Fowles, was replaced by number 16, Royal Eaton.
And Hull keeping this ball alive. It's Stanley Jean. King still going, and Hull look like going in for a further try. Good hands from the Hull players. Just a long ball out. So the score: Keighley 12, Hull 20. Scoring first in the second half, just making life slightly more difficult for Keighley. 2 scores behind with this kick to come from Matt Crowther. kick from Matt Crowther. Keighley Cougars 12, Hull Sharks 22. Not the start to the second half Keighley wanted. Oh, Martin Wood restarting, going for the short kick. But Hull alive to that one. Stanley Jean. So Hull once again inside the Keighley half of the field. Stanley Jean. And it's Richard Horn. And that's the last tackle. So well taken by Jason Lee. Mr. Connolly didn't hear his whistle there saying Hull offside. So Martin Wood puts the ball into touch down below us. It's Matt Walker. It's Stevenson. Martin Wood. And Ian Hughes, it's a good break from Ian Hughes down onto the Hull 20. Steve Pickles going in at acting half-back. It's Antonic. Well, that's well taken by Dio Powell. So Keighley within 10 metres and striking distance of that Hull line. It's the last tackle. It's Martin Wood. Kick over the top. It's Hallis. It's a forward pass. So handover once again. That crossfield kick from Martin Wood causing Hull problems. And what's Mr. Connolly going to do? He's saying knock on. And Keighley head and ball. So Antonic and Keighley in a good position, just 10 metres out. Paul Harrison. So it's Pickles. Oh, looks like Danny Seal. It's Martin Wood. But knocked on, so it'll be scrum down. Hull head and ball, so Keighley pressure coming to nothing once again. It's a scrum down. Hull head and ball. And Stanley Jean wrapped up inside his own 10. So Hull Hull Sharks, or say Hull FC, it's not Hull Sharks anymore. Just down on the halfway line, Lee Jackson. Hull once again keeping this ball alive. It's Gene Horn. That ball going forward. Mr. Leyland down on this near side. Super League touch judge, good eyes. I think Mr. Connolly picked it up anyway, but good work. Good work between the referee and the touch judge.
Cougar substitution. Number 15, James Leatham, replaces number...
So, Jim Leatham.
Well played in.
Another ex-Hull player getting a resounding boo from the contingent of Hull fans down in that Turner stand. Martin Wood, it's Rushforth. It's Harrison. Good offload to Martin Wood. That looks like Matt Walker. It's Antonic. It's Jim Leatham. Back to Antonic. Good play by Jim Leatham. It's Hallison acting half back. I think all are going to be reduced to 11 men. I think it could be going to... No, it's not. Although we're going to go to Simbin. Mr. Connolly just buttoning his pocket up. I thought it was... but no, it's scrum down. It's Hull feed. So Logan Campbell. It's Bird. Stanley Jean. Good tackle by Jim Leatham. It's Richard Horn. Richard Horn just found a little gap. And Hull going in for a further try. Richard Horn just making the gap. So I think that's probably the final nailing the Cougar coffin this afternoon. Keighley certainly not disgraced, but Hull just running in the second try of this second half to take them 26 points to 10 in front. So it's like Matt Crowther converts, so it's Keighley 10, Hull 28.
And the substitution for the Keighley Cougars, number 17, Darren Carter, replaces number 9, Steve Pickles.
So that short kick-off by Keighley being penalised. I thought it was right on the 10, but Mr. Connolly, who's had an excellent game this afternoon, right on the spot. So Hull coming once again at Keighley defence. So kick over the top. Yeah, I think so, yeah. So Keighley with a tap on the 20, first of the afternoon, I believe, according to Arthur, my cameraman and statistician this afternoon. So Keighley getting a penalty. Mr. Connolly eventually penalising interference at the play of the ball. I think that's the first penalty for interference at the play of the ball. So it's Harrison. It's Carter, long ball out. That ball going back, Martin Wood. It's Rushforth coming up into the line. Good run by Rushforth onto Jason Lee, and Jason Lee dives over for his second try of the afternoon. So that's Jason Ratatouille Lee going in for his second try of the afternoon. It's Keighley Cougars 16, Hull 28. So Martin Wood with a difficult conversation out on this near touchline side, but I've seen him kicking from there before, but I feel like kicking a bar of soap. Excellent attempt by Martin, that ball just striking the upright, so it's as was Keighley 16, Hull 28. So coming into the last 15 minutes down at Cougar Park. As Hull restart, Nathan Antonick the recipient. And Phil Stevenson, excellent run from Phil Stevenson. Great work by the Cougars. And Phil Stevenson coming out of that, from that kick-off, Martin Wood. Martin Wood coming back infield with Rushforth. Excellent tackle. Rushforth just gets up and plays that ball as though nothing's happened. It's Darren Carter. Martin Wood once again. On to Leatham, that ball going to ground. So Hull back with it, it's Bird. So Hull just taking that ball, stood still and picked up by Darren Carter. Keighley running over on that far side to run round the Hull defence, back down in that 10-metre area. Looks like Danny Seal. Keighley just a few metres out from that try line. And Craig Orm's in! That's another try to the Cougars. So it's Keighley Cougars 20, Hull 28. Martin Wood once again, a difficult conversion out on that far side. Martin can kick this over, it brings us back within a try and a goal of the mighty Hull FC. Good contact, but just fades across the front of the post, so it's Keighley Cougars 20, Hull 28. And I make it round about 13 minutes to go as Matt Crowther restarts play for Hull. Drills that ball along the ground, picked up by the Cougars. So Cougars with the tails up. Phil Stevenson once again running at the Hull defence. Cougars going down this near side, got space over. Jim Leatham. And a knock on.
And he replaces number 16, Phil Stevenson. Steve out.
Phil Stevenson going off, putting an absolute mammoth stint for the Cougars while he's been on. Switching on with the feeds, Stanley Jean. It's Dion Bird. Hull 10 metres inside the Cougar half of the field. And it's Smith. So Lee Jackson once again, Hull, Stanley Jean. That's a knock on. So it'll be scrum down, Keighley head and ball. Chancing it with the feed, it's Horn. It's Jim Leatham. It's Matt Walker. Some solid Hull tackling. It's Keighley move the ball out to that right hand side again, it's Harrison. It's inside. And Mr. Connolly saying that was a forward pass. I'd like to look at that one again, but he was in a probably good, better position than me.
Substitution for Hull, returning is number 8, Paul Broadbent, and he replaces number 17, Paul Heath. So
Hull almost breaking through, but Martin Wood keeping fast tight hold. Well, that looked like a forward pass. So Hull, Jason Smith, Dion Bird. Solid Keighley tackling once again. But Hull, a couple of metres out from that line. And a lot of shouting and bawling from the stand. But Hull still with the ball. And that's a good kick from Lee Jackson. But took that ball well, did Alice, but really with a drop out. Craven picking that ball up. It's Jason Smith and Jim Leatham. Jason Smith not too happy with that tackle, but there you go, Broadbent. And Hull, once again, just a metre or so short of the Cougar try line. Looks like Lee Jackson. Horn. That's a knock on. But Mr. Connolly saying there were two knock-ons, take the first one, so it's Cougar head and feed. Rushforth. Martin Wood. So Keighley still deep in their own half of the field. And again going without the ball. So it'll be scrum down. Keighley Cougar, Hull head and ball, should I say. Stanley Jean just slipping there. He tried to break away from the Cougar defence. Richard Horn. And Craven. Hull still looking at it's Richard Horn. Good ball from Jason Smith to Richard Horn, but he's tackled once again just a couple of metres short. Hull coming down this near side. Good defence by the Cougars, taking Hull back to that 10-metre line. It's a last tackle. Mr. Connolly right over the play of the ball. And that's rather unfortunate as far as Keighley are concerned. Not too sure who scored that try, but that ball just striking the bottom of the right-hand post, and just in the muddy conditions, that ball just sliding into the in goal.
box up here, and sponsored by Silk Cup, the Silk Cup Challenge Cup. Man of the match is Hull's number 13, Jason Smith.
So that's Keighley 20, Hull 32.
A commemorative medallion, and it will be presented in the players' bar after the game. And the attendance here at Cougar Park this afternoon is 4,401. Thank you to every one of you, especially the one.
So Matt Crowther makes that Keighley 20, Hull 34. Coming into the closing 5 minutes. There's 5 minutes to go before we can shut this gantry and go find somewhere warm and dry and a bit more hospitable. So Martin Woods puts that ball, Dion Bird. And that's Dion Bird once again. Hull once again, that's a lovely inside pass.
And a substitution for Hull, number 11, Adam Mayer.
It's the last tackle.
Man of the match, Jason Smith.
Stanley Jean, he's tackled in possession, so it'll be handover. Martin Woods, Rushforth. Had a good game, James, this afternoon for the Cougars once again. It's Mickey Slicker. And once again, Cougars breaking downfield. It's one for Craig on to chase, and he's getting for. No, he hasn't. They're saying knock on. So it's scrum down. Hull, head and feed. So, last few minutes, or last couple of minutes down here, Stanley Jean trying to go all the way around, but he's tackled down on that 10-metre line. So Hull once again, really no idea who they are in this mud and murk, but they're down. It's Lee Jackson, he spreads that ball to the left hand side. That's the last tackle. Probably see another high ball, but Grubber kick, and Craig Horn just watches that as it goes into the touch. So it's come down, Keighley head and ball, probably the final passage in play. Antonic puts the ball in the scrum. It's Craig Horn. It's Leatham. It's Martin Wood in at acting half-back. It's Antonic. Well picked up by Paul Harrison. Darren Carter. Mr. Connolly, arm raised in the air. That's the last tackle. Martin Wood puts a little kick over the top. Picked up by Chris Smith. And there goes the final hooter down here at Cougar Park. Excellent game of rugby. Keighley putting in a mammoth performance against an excellent Hull team who've had to play for 77 minutes with only 12 men. Excellent crowd, 4,400 watching this game. An absolute no disgrace. Keighley can settle down and crack on with their league programme with no distraction of the cup. Hull supporters way down to my right hand side in the Turner stand, being impeccably behaved this afternoon. Came with a reputation, but that reputation being blown out the window at the moment. They've one or two chants, but we can accept that and take that as part and parcel of rugby league. Just to mention as well to referee Robert Connolly and his two officials, Mr. Ellaby and Mr. Leyland. They've put in an excellent performance by all three officials. For my mind, not really put a foot wrong. Cougars, I hope the showers are warm, because Ellaby missed some of those players. Excellent game down here at Cougar Park in atrocious conditions. A lot of lost ball, a lot of loose ball, but that's down to the state of the pitch and the rain. Excellent game. So Cougars is going down to the bottom end of the ground, and their supporters who've been supporting them throughout. Excellent. Hull supporters giving the Cougars a nice round of applause. So that's the Silk Cut Challenge Cup over for this season as far as the Cougars are concerned. Our next game is, I don't know when it is. I know we've got a bleak spell. Batley's probably going to be the next game at home, possibly in a fortnight, could be on a Wednesday night. Anyway, for the final time down at Cougar Park this afternoon, final score, Keighley Cougars 20, Hull 38, was it Arthur? Something like that. Anyway, that's it. From myself and Arthur, it's goodbye.